Hello and welcome to the 44 Minutes of Heaven we call the D1Baseball podcast. I am your host, Michael Patrick Rooney. Today's episode brought to us by our good friends at S2 Cognition. S2 Cognition is about swing decisions. Ted Williams taught us that the most important part of hitting is getting a good pitch to hit. And so it doesn't matter bat speed, athleticism, whatever. If you're swinging at the balls and you're taking the strikes, you got a problem. Get with S2 Cognition, get an assessment on what kind of swing decisions you're making, and then chart a path forward for better decision making. It is so critical. These guys, we're so pleased to be partnered with them. I want to also say thank you to our friends at Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. It's easy to use and affordable technology. The platform is accessible to every player at every level. It's all the metrics and features that are used at the highest level of our sport. See pitchlogic.com for more information. One more thing that I want to add is postseason baseball is literally right around the corner. We're taping this on Thursday, May 16th, and conference tournaments start on Tuesday. The Phillips 66 Big 12 Baseball Championship is bigger and better than ever before. It's May 21st to the 25th. 10 teams going for the Big 12 title. Climate-controlled Globe Life Field. It's the only conference tournament that's happening in one of the 30 big league ballparks, and that is, in fact, the home of the world champion Texas Rangers. You can elevate your experience with premium ticket options, premier seats, club access. Just ask for the Kendall Rogers plan, complimentary perks. Secure your tickets today by visiting globelifefield.com/Big12, globelifefield.com/Big12. Our good friend Kendall Rogers catching strays all morning.
Yeah, and I got to say, while the rest of us suckers in Hoover and Charlotte or whatever are going to be sitting through lightning delays like always in the South in May, the people over there in Globe Life are just going to be cruising right along on schedule, just like the folks out in Tucson. They don't need a dome, or Scottsdale. They don't need a dome out there, but only a handful of places that aren't going to have to deal with weather delays, and the Big 12 tournament is one of them.
Yes. And by the way, those are the dulcet tones of the great Aaron J. Fitt, Fitty Barrels, if you will. We're also joined by the director of credibility, David J. Seifert. Seif, where will you be for conference tournament week?
Well, Fitty just called me a sucker, apparently, because I'll be at the Sun Belt right down the road from the SEC. So whatever weather they get in help me,
Montgomery.
Not in Birmingham, in Hoover, thank you. I'll be getting down the street in Montgomery. So, yep, count me in.
What is that ballpark? Is that a nice ballpark for the Sun Belt?
The Double-A Park, right?
Yeah, it's where the Barons, Michael Jordan used to play, right?
No, that's Birmingham.
No. That's Birmingham. Right. So,
Montgomery's the Biscuits. It is a nice ballpark. I don't think they're known for the size of their press box, but I'm sure they'll have a nice setup for the conference tournament. It should be good up there.
Oh, love it.
You make me feel better, Fitty. Thank you.
Yes, very good. Hey, Seif and Fitzy, I'm curious. This could span other sports before we get into the meat of the crux of the matter, if you will. How do you guys feel about mock drafts? Are you like football, basketball, baseball? Doesn't matter what sport, hockey, I suppose. What, Seif? How do you feel about mock drafts?
Oh man, they're a lot of work, but they're very popular. So the work is very worthwhile, and it's also very interesting to read. Like, we have our industry sources just like everybody else, and it's just neat to kind of compare what they're hearing with what we're hearing. So I not only enjoy putting them together with Shooter Hunt and the one we'll do here for D1Baseball here in a few weeks, but I always like reading like Jim Callis's and others as well. But they're great reads.
Yep. Fitzy, go off baseball. Do you like football mock drafts? See who your yucking ears are going to take.
There are a few things on the planet that I hate more than the NFL draft. Hate it with a passion.
Yikes!
I will be staying away from that one. The whole draft industrial complex on the football side just disgusts me. Our draft is so much more. I like the pace of it better. That's not absurdly overhyped the way theirs is. Just the whole thing. I can't stand it. I used to be an NBA draft guy. I've just withdrawn from that over the years, but I used to enjoy an occasional NBA mock draft.
I like it. Fitzy, when we have our first annual D1Baseball shareholders meeting in Cut and Shoot, Texas, I'll put the agenda together. I'm thinking like a 2.5 day event. The Thursday evening gala, we need to have a D1Baseball awards night, and it should be an NBA draft style. Like everybody dressed to the nines, pants high, no socks. Like we bring your best bling. Yeah, that'll be whenever that shareholders meeting happens. We need to tear that up.
Seif's gonna steal the show with his. I can feel it. Seif's got he's got the Slender Man thing going. He's gonna walk in there like an NBA player. With the probably the bright pink suit. I'm guessing something really dapper.
Oh, that's because that is so me. Yeah. Pink is definitely on my list.
Seif, I could see you in a flannel tuxedo, like just something that really screams Central Illinois with some style.
What? Just because our town colors are camouflage? Come on now.
Oh, that's great. All right, boys, let's jump in here. Let's have some fun. So we're going to talk about prospects. This is our monthly prospect pod. So Seif, I have seen a mock draft. The first one popped up, and I want to talk about like the case for 1-1. I think we'll kind of we'll go around the players, and I think what I'll do is let me start here. Let me read the first 5 picks. So the Guardians have the first pick in this mock draft. And I think it's fair to say this was Kylie McDaniel did this one for ESPN.com. So in this one, it was Travis Bazzana, second baseman for the Beavers for Oregon State at 1 for the Cleveland Guardians. Number 2 was Charlie Condon for the Cincinnati Reds. And then, obviously, if you don't know who Charlie Condon is, I'm not sure how you would have stumbled upon this podcast. Jack Caglione went 3rd for the Rockies. I have some questions about him, like good positive questions, not like I'm doubting him. Nick Kurtz went 4th to the A's. Hagen Smith went 5th to the White Sox. Then it was high schools. The Braden Montgomery went 7th to the Cardinals. Boy, would that be a steal. And then 8 to the Angels was Chase Burns. 9 to the Pirates was James Tibbs. So let's just kind of like cap it right there. Seif, if you forget about trends and how the Guardians operate, if you were the scouting director for the Guardians, who would you take 1-1?
Man, probably Bazzana. I mean, I know I have Cags. We have Cags 1. I love Cags. I mean, the only guy on the planet besides Ohtani that can throw it 100 and hit it 120. So I love that. But I think at the end of the day, the most value you can find in the draft, it seems like, are middle infielders. And, as far as like, the Bregmans of the world, those guys that go in posts like all-star type WAR numbers. And I hate to dig too deep into WAR numbers and production, but I mean, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for an all-star producer, and first base, it's just so competitive. And that's where CAG profiles the best. I know he can pitch. I actually think he has a chance to start. I know there's Pegum as a definitely a reliever, but even if he's a first base closer, that's just kind of a tough gig. But with that said, for me, Bazzana would probably be that guy because, I mean, gosh, he can steal bases. His defense is solid, and he's got power. Not a lot of middle infielders are going to pop 25 and steal 20 and play, pretty good defense. That's an all-star right there.
Fitzy, what about you? What if you were the Guardians? Who would you forget about their preferences and trends? Like you own the Guardians. You just wrote a check. You own the Guardians. You and the great Virginia Fitt. What who are you making your team pick? Yeah,
I mean I'm in the Bazzana camp. It just feels like it's a slam dunk. I mean, he does everything. I think being at a premium position and being a really good defender at a premium position also matters. I just think that the fact that it's tools across the board. I mean, the power tools really showing up this year with 26 home runs, but he also can really run, and the plate discipline's elite. I mean, obviously you could say, obviously Charlie Condon is, I think for me, would be the number 2 guy. I think for me, Caglione has slipped a little bit behind those 2 guys because I just think that, it's one thing if you really think that he's going to be a big leaguer both ways, but it seems like at this point, the industry consensus is kind of like, look, he's going to be a bat. He's going to be a bat. I think the pitching thing sounds like the ship has kind of sailed on that. And I'm curious what you think about that, Seif. But my opinion is like, there's just not enough pitchability. And I think a lot of people in the industry don't think that there will be. The bat is just so special, and he controls his zone well enough now, in addition to having that elite power, that I think that's what he is. But if he's power hitting first baseman, that's great. It's elite power. But for me, that's behind, a power hitting second baseman and a third baseman, which is what Bazzana and Condon are.
Seif, you had said you think if you were drafting Cags, you would send him out as a starting pitcher, and unless I misheard you, Seif, it sounds like you're in the camp that you're not ready to walk away from Cags as a pitcher. Is that a fair assessment of your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. There's no way I would walk away from him as a pitcher. I mean, history, it's only his second year back pitching. People want to give him, a hard time because he didn't do so well in the World Series last year. I mean, the guy was two-waying it all year. First full year back from pitching last year, and he was just toast. I mean, the guy was just fried. Came to the USA CNT trials and kind of the same fried guy. But nobody else has this guy's tools, his size, his athleticism. I mean, there's other really good athletes, but nobody does the things he does. So I would no way walk away from his pitching. Brendan McKay went 1-1. I know each draft is different, but Cags is far superior in every tool as McKay. I'm just a huge Cags fan. So I like Condon too. I don't think he's a third baseman. I think he's a first baseman or outfielder, which isn't bad because he has the power for either. No, I think Cags, you go out, you start him, you pitch him once a week, you rest him a day, and then he hits the other 5 days of the week, or however that weekly schedule works out, depending on which week it is. But nope, Cags is a pitcher for me, and I'm gonna ride that till the end.
Hey, so let's come back to Cags for a second. I don't want to leave Bazana too quickly. So Saif, you just put the Bregman comp on Bazana. I've not heard that before, and I love it. Because I've been struggling for a comp for him. Because when I saw Bazana at 1-1, where I've struggled, I love the player, don't get me wrong, but where I've struggled with Bazana is we already know he's a second baseman. And in fairness, Bregman was a college shortstop and a really good one. So he could go to third. And so for Bazana, we already know he's a second baseman, and that's pretty much it. The other thing is Bazana's not that big, and, again, that's the Bregman comp. Is there any concern, Saif, that Bazana, the projection is gone? He kind of is what he is. He's not getting any taller. He's already pretty thick. If anything, he's going to slow down a little bit. So I know I'm nitpicking, by the way. If I was a Guardians fan, I'd be through the moon if they took Bazana. But what is the lack of projection any type of concern?
No, not for me. I mean, Bregman didn't have any projection either. I mean, it was so much that projected him to slide over to third. So it's the same type of player. I need to back up. McKay wasn't 1-1, but so I just want to correct myself on that. When I said it, I was like, no, that can't be right. So he was actually fourth. So anyway, back to fourth overall. But the two-way lefty first baseman is kind of more the combine's trying to make. But regardless, Cags fits, in the first 3 or 4 picks of the draft. But back to Bazana, no, I don't have any worries about the projection. I mean, he is what he is, but what he is pretty darn good. And if he just has a 10-year major league career, it's going to be a pretty good one. But I don't see that. I see him as being a Bregman impact type guy.
And I would say this. I mean, I think he's more explosive than Bregman. I mean, he's certainly a better runner than Bregman, no question. He's 100%. 70 runner? I mean, comfortably. It's and I get maybe he'll slow down a little bit because it's kind of a thicker frame, but it's just a powerful running back kind of a frame for me. And also I think he has, I don't know, I guess the power is about comparable because Bregman did have a 40 home run season in the major leagues, but since then Bregman's been more of a hits 20 something home runs. I think that's about comparable. I think the hit tool, the power tool, those things are comparable. I mean, I don't know, but he feels like more of an Altuve type athlete, like that explosive kind of bowling ball. Altuve would be steal 50 plus bases in his prime. I could see Bregman, Bazana doing that. I really think that it's that kind of explosive athlete.
Yep. Hey, let's do Cags for a second. So I think what you just said, Saif, about Cags is so fascinating because I have the opposite opinion, in a positive way. I am so captivated by Cags's bat, and I can't dispute what you said, right? First base, there's you have no room for error as a hitter at first base. You have to hit, even though I think Cags is a phenomenal first baseman. The thing that's, Cags is so unique in a million ways. He's right now, as we're talking, he's in the middle of a 30-game hitting streak. 30-game hitting streak. And so that got me thinking, Saif, and Fitzy, I want your take on this too. I was just thinking about the hitting streaks of my lifetime in baseball. And it's they're all little guys. They're all singles guys. And I know Joe DiMaggio, I don't perceive Joe DiMaggio as this power hitter. I perceive him as a hitter who had power. Cags has ridiculous power. I think I could make an argument that Kaggs has more power than any college player I've ever seen with my own two eyes. And yet he's got a 30-game hitting streak. I'm blown away by that combination. So that's why, for me, I'm almost kind of like done with the pitching and like save it as an insurance policy, because I'm like, this hit streak, Seif, is I don't know. I just don't think we see power hitters that have hit streaks like this. Do you have one?
I want Seif to answer, but I want to jump in here and say, I can't believe you're sitting here calling our guy Rob Ventura a singles hitter, for Pete's sake. In your lifetime, you said. Didn't you say in your lifetime? Is certain fellow, maybe you've heard of him. Ventura, Rob, is it Rob Ventura?
Rob Ventura is hit over power for me. You're not calling him a power hitter, are you?
In college, it was 21, 21, and 26 home runs his 3 seasons at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, but that was the same era when Pete Incaviglia hit 48. You know, like that's
certainly
20 home runs was a nice season back then. 75 games too, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
But you're right. Like, yeah. But so Robin Ventura did have power, but again, like I view Ventura and DiMaggio in that same boat. Like, those were pure hitters who just had power. Like, Kaggs to me is like, this is ridiculous power. It's circus power.
Yeah.
What do you got on that, Seif, with the hit streak? Does the hit streak sway you at all, or it's just kind of whatever?
No, actually, I didn't know that. That's obviously super impressive. Just like what do you have, 8 or 9 games in a row with a home run too earlier in the year? Maybe it was even 10. I'm not sure, but it was up there. But the thing that impressed me most with Kaggs is not everybody, but the industry was on him to improve his walk rate, lower his strikeout rate, lower his chase rate. Make these adjustments. And he's done them. I mean, and I hate to sit here and just quote stats, but okay, so last year he hit 322. This year he hit 418. Last year he struck out 58 times and only walked 17. Okay. This year he's only struck out 18 times and walked 38. So he's basically taken his walk rate. He's basically tripled his walk rate and less than halved his K rate. So a lot of people, I'm not saying a lot of people can do that, but people who do that, they lose their power. And he hasn't. He's actually raised his ISO. I know he hasn't had his 33 pops yet. He's only at 28, but his ISO, which is your batting average, your slugging minus your batting average, it's kind of your true measure of power. His ISO has risen while he's tripled his walk rate and more than halved his K rate. So guys just don't do that. And so that just tells me he's a phenomenal athlete that can make adjustments. And when he gets to the next level, he's going to make even more adjustments, both on the mound and in the batter's box, because now he's not going to class every day and not doing all this other stuff. He can just be a baseball player. And I think that's just what Jack is. Jack's a baller.
Well said.
Love it. Yep. Well said. So here's the thing on Condon. Third base, he's doing fine, right? Like, so let me ask the question here. He's 6'6". He's every bit of 6'6". Is there a comp for that? Is there a 6'6" third baseman in the big leagues? I don't think there is. The
only two. There's a 6'5" one, and I was the naysayer on him, I'll admit, because previous to him it was only Troy Glaus, but Glaus was a shortstop at UCLA and then moved to third base in pro ball. But Glaus 6'5", obviously great career there. And Alec Boehm is the only 6'5" third baseman right now. And when he was a junior coming out of Wichita State, I was like, there's no way he's going to stay at third. He's going to move to first just because of his height. Well, he's worked hard to stay there. He's still a below average, fringy at best defender. But he stayed there. He's made that Philadelphia Philly team really, really good because he's good enough at third base and they can put their bats, they can move Harper to first because they don't have to play Boehm at first. So, so I was wrong on Boehm, but I don't think Condon's going to be that guy either. I just don't. It's just 6'6" is just too tall. The game moves too quick, and those are long legs, to make an impact there. So I just think he's a left-right fielder or first baseman. But again, the power plays there. He's going to be just fine being a major league producer at any of those spots.
Boehm feels like an interesting comp for him, though. I think he's certainly. I think the upside offensive is even higher than Boehm's. I mean, just what he's doing is historic. But I mean, body type and the way it works, the whole thing works a little bit. It kind of feels like that a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's a fairly good comp. I I didn't not like Bone's swing, but I really like Condon's swing. So, and let's face it, I mean, Condon's season is better than what Wyatt Langford did last year. Wyatt Langford is in the big leagues now. I know he's only hitting 240, 250 with zero power, but that's going to come as he just has more at bats at that level and just, works his way into it. That's going to come for him. But Condon's season is better than Langford's, same conference. Yeah. So it's just amazing what Charlie's doing.
Almost like a young, like Jason Worth type package, maybe if he's like a corner outfielder, and I mean, again, he's got maybe more ceiling than that, but Jason Worth did hit 46 doubles in the big leagues one year with 27 homers. I mean, Jason Worth had a nice little career. I think Condon has a chance to be even better than that, but I can see him being that type of player. Yeah,
Worth came up as a catcher too, so that's a big reason for his value. But then he obviously outgrew the position. We're talking third base and not catcher, but that's not a bad comparable either.
Yeah, and by the way, the projections, the Reds pick second and the Rockies pick third. So whatever order you want to go in, but if the Reds get Condon, goodness, he could hit 50 there. And can you imagine Cags for the Rockies? Like, how glorious would that be?
That would be glorious.
Is that your top three, Fitzy? Is that how you'd stack them 1, 2, and 3?
I think so. Yeah. And Seif kind of talked me off the ledge a little bit on Jack as a hitter only. I think you're right. I mean, it's, maybe it is. It's funny because I feel like a lot of scouts are walking away from the pitching thing, but I mean, there is just too much upside potential there. That's just so rare. I mean, I like what Seif's saying. Maybe you still run him out there, once a week on the mound and see how it goes. Ultimately, I don't know that he has the aptitude on the mound to do both in the big leagues. I'm skeptical. I remain skeptical of that, but I do think, you could run him out there as both. And for that reason, I think he probably is still, in that top 3. And then for me, it's Smith and Burns. I think that's the clear top 5.
So let's do this next group. Okay. So once I think we have consensus on the first 3. And now you've got to decide between, I'm going to put prep players aside. You got to decide between Burns or Chase Burns or Hagen Smith, and then James Tibbs might be a sleeper depending on I think metrics teams are probably going to love him. And then you've got Nick Kurtz kind of lurking around, 6'6", left-handed hitter with feel for the barrel and controls the strike zone and prodigious power. And then Braden Montgomery. I think Braden. I'm just going to make this statement and that you guys can pick it apart. I think Braden Montgomery, based on where he's going to get picked, might be the greatest value in this draft because I don't get it. Like, is it only because he's playing right field, Seif, or like he's athletic, he's a switch hitter, he looks like a big leaguer. Every time I see A&M play and I see Braden Montgomery out there, I'm like, why is there a big leaguer in a college uniform? Like what? I don't know. So what do you think? What do you think there, Seif? Like Braden Montgomery blows me away.
Yeah, he's not in my personal top 5, but I'm a huge fan. I mean, I went and saw A&M. I forget what week it was, in the middle of the year, and I went in there. He's having a good year, but I went in there looking for certain things, and one of those things I was looking for is, has he really fixed that right-handed swing? Because it had holes, it was long, it could be easily pitched to, and I mean there was even talk about him just ditching that side and just going lefty. So. But I went in there, and man, it was good. It's short, tight turn with plus bat speed both sides, plus raw juice. He gets to it in a game. Obviously, you watch him play the outfield. You look at him in the uniform, like you said, that's a big leaguer. He's got a 65-70 arm, maybe even better on the right day. Above average defender. I mean, he definitely looks the part. But I do agree with your statement about him probably being one of the best values in this draft because – for me, again, he's 6 to 8, somewhere in there. I would probably go J.J. Weatherholt after watching Weatherholt this past weekend. I wrote about him on the scouting trail week 13. I would probably go Weatherholt over Montgomery because he's an infielder, because he plays up the middle, because that's where he projects to stay. And I'd rather, take my chances with that type of player who plays up the middle than a corner outfielder or first baseman. But, I'm a huge fan of Braden Montgomery as well.
Hey Fitzy, let me pair this for you. So I want you to do this. I want you to pick between the 2 pitchers and tell me why, and then I want you to help me order these hitters. And let's put Weatherholt in there. So help me create order for these hitters: Montgomery, Weatherholt, Kurtz, Tibbs. Did I miss one? Or that's the group? Montgomery, Kurtz, Tibbs, Weatherholt.
Weatherholt. I think that's the group. That 4. I think there's a clear drop off after that.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's do the pitchers first. Help me figure out these pitchers.
Gosh, I've been flip-flopping on this all season long. Burns versus Smith. I'm right now. I think I'm in Team Smith. I just think I think you take the lefty, and Burns has, I think, the more traditional delivery. It's certainly absurd explosive stuff, but Hagen feels like one of those guys where like maybe it's going to be like a Max Scherzer type situation where people always say like, the delivery though, I don't know. And then Scherzer goes out and dominates in the big leagues for 2 decades and wins multiple Cy Youngs. Like I could see Smith doing that. I just think it's repeatable. It works for him. It's unorthodox, but it's it's deceptive. It only makes him nastier. The delivery's got some deception, some funk to it. He holds his velocity. He's got just an unhittable slider. He's such a competitor. I mean, his track record goes back so long. I mean, get all those no hitters he threw in high school and all that. I mean, I go back and forth on these two guys. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think they're both going to be perennial, all-stars. I think they're awesome. Chase Burns is awesome. I mean, it's so, again, it's just overpowering, man. Like, it's just everything you want. It's 4 pitches too. I mean, that's the thing is everyone talks about the fastball and the slider with Burns, but I mean, the curveball and the changeup have both developed really well. And it's a legit 4-pitch guy, the right side. And plenty of strikes. And he's answered every question that anyone could have possibly had about him this year. Just going back into the rotation at Wake Forest and just dominating again in an extreme hitter's park too. So there's no wrong answers. Seif, where do you come down on those two?
I'm going to go lefty over righty. That's just where I'm at. They're super comparable. But if I'm going to go out and, I only get one of them, I got to get the lefty. Interestingly, I can't divulge all the names on this list because I'm going to write about it here next week. There are only 9 guys in all of college baseball that have 3 pitches that all rate in the 90th percentile of like whiff percentage. Just, hey, you guys swing and miss at it. Hagen is not one of them. Burns is. And I'm not trying to contradict myself here, but at the end of the day, I saw Hagen Smith's best outing of his career, of my scouting career, in week 2 at Globe Life, and that just stuck in my mind. And I've seen Chase Burns really good too. So I saw Burns when he was a freshman at Tennessee, sophomore at Tennessee, saw him this year as well. But like Hagen Smith is right there in my mind, and that's a Clayton Kershaw top of the rotation guy for numerous years. Not that Burns can't be, but Smith most likely will be in my mind. So,
hey, Seif, what was the third?
I want to throw in one other name.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, what was Burns' third pitch? Was it his changeup that's generating that much whiff?
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
3.
Go ahead.
The cutter slide, the fastball, cutter slider, and the changeup. Right.
Got it.
Where Smith just has the fastball and the breaking ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to throw another name in there too. Maybe you guys don't disagree, but I actually have Seaver King a little bit above Tibbs. And again, Tibbs is by far the best hitter. Like, I'm not saying King is a better hitter, will be a better hitter, but King won't have to hit as much by playing second base, center field, shortstop, third base. He's going to be like this Ben Zobrist super utility type guy. He's been drawing Mookie Betts comparisons. That's probably a better, because Mookie's now playing shortstop for the Dodgers. But I think I would slide Seaver King into the conversation with the Tibbs. If Tibbs is in that conversation too, because Tibbs is going to play corner. And it's probably going to be right field, which he profiles really well there with his powerful arm. And I'd say he's a fringe average defender that's improving right now. But Seaver King is one I would throw my hat in the ring for too, if we're talking that range.
That's a good call. And it is like your classic, your risk versus reward here. I mean, I do think Tibbs is safe. He's going to be a big league bat, period, for me. And King is just so electric. He's just such a live athlete, and the defensive versatility you talk about. And I've seen Seaver King just dazzle repeatedly when I've seen Wake Forest this year. Every time I'm in there, it's like, holy cow, this guy's explosive. I mean, he does.
Yeah, and then next at bat, you're like, no. What was that? And then
exactly.
Like, oh, there he is. There's that guy I was talking about. Yeah. So I'm with you on Seaver.
Yeah,
Yep.
but it's fun. It's a lot of fun to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to describe this poorly, but there's like a GIF out there, like an animation of like this man that you watch grow. It's just like each frame the person grows. I feel like that's who Seaver King is as a baseball player. Like obviously he was Division II before. He's this explosive athlete. If you saw him in February, the player you're seeing now is very different. It's still dynamic and explosive, but it's more refined. Like he's really his skill. His skill level has improved incredibly. It's a good segue too, because I didn't perceive Seaver King as like a top 20 pick, but it seems like he's starting to trend in that direction. Seif, I want to go with Helium guys, risers. And I don't think the player I'm going to mention might not fit this category, but let me give you the name and then I want you to give us some other names. So Blake Burke at Tennessee, I think he's the most improved player in the country year over year. Now, would we call him a Helium guy in the draft? I don't know. I'll defer to your judgment on that. But like, who are some guys that are Seaver Kings are probably a good book cover for this group? But who are some guys that are rising up boards?
I think you could classify Blake Burke definitely as a riser. I mean, he was 5th, 6th round talk. Coming in the year, limited to first base. Coming off a bad season, people are like, "Oh yeah, he only hit like 50 in the SEC last year." So I don't know what it was. I'm exaggerating there, but like it was pretty poor. And at the end of the year, I think he was even platooning. But I mean, he's in a full-time role. He's been raking. His numbers are outstanding. So I mean, he's probably somewhere. Fitty, you hear just as much as I do at the Buzz, but I think he fits in the back half of the 2nd round or early 3rd. I mean, Blake Burke has had that type of impact this year as a first baseman, which it's hard to move as a college first baseman because. Let's face it, that's not the high interest or the there's not a lot of hey, we got to jump up and get that guy type of thing for a college first baseman. But other risers to your question, obviously we just talked about Tibbs. Coming in, Tibbs was probably a 3rd, 4th rounder coming out of the Cape, and now I mean we're talking about him in the first half of the 1st round. So he definitely qualifies.
I was early on that guy. I won't go back and give myself a pat on the back because I told you all that.
Yeah, you did. You saw him. When did you see him? Like week 5 or 6, Fitty? And you're like, yeah, this guy's going to be in the middle of the 1st round somewhere. Yeah, for sure. I forgot what week it was, but it was somewhere.
That Clemson series, yeah, pretty early on in the ACC, yeah.
And then one of my favorite runes from last year, I was at the Pac-12 tournament, but I was doubling up with a whack. So I went over the whack, and I'd heard about this guy earlier in the year because he did really well in that when Iowa, LSU, Sam Houston State, and I forget the 4th team, maybe K-State, were at Round Rock, maybe in week 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when Breck and Skeens, all those guys blew up. But Walter Yannick from Sam Houston State was really good as a sophomore in that same little mini series there in week 2. And, I saw him in the Cape. He built some more love for me. And then he's been kind of a guy I've just kind of pocket follow. And again, I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but
do it.
Well, I think it was about week 3 or 4. And I just trying to get a feel for guys that I was going to see in the coming weeks. And I ended up seeing Yannick in week 6 when they played Dallas Baptist against Ryan Johnson, who's a really good arm. But I'm going off on all these different tangents here, Rune. Sorry about that. But so I asked a couple of scouting directors and a national guy, like, hey, here's Malcolm Moore, here's Caleb Omavita. I got Yannick like right by those guys, and all of them were kind of like, oh, our club doesn't really have them there, having that same echelon or whatever. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. You see guys differently. That's the beauty of scouting. And so, but Yannick has played his way in the 1st round. Like whether you're talking round pick 20, 25, it's a name I'm hearing more and more. Like Walker Yannick is a 1st rounder, so he's definitely had helium from maybe a 3rd round type coming out of the whack. In what are they, Conference USA now? Help me, I forgot the shuffle.
Conference USA, that's it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Man, I'm doing good today, Fitty. I usually get all this wrong.
And you crush the pronunciation, Seif. Like Yannick that's a perilous pronunciation, and you aced it.
Hagen, when I mow my lawn in the morning, it's like having like 3 coffees. So I'm ready to go here. It's raining outside now, Runes. It's raining, so I just timed it really well.
Well done.
Anyway, so I'll pat myself on the back for that too. But moving along, Christian Moore was a guy I followed. How can you not follow Christian Moore? Just tools. You question the instincts. I question the swing and miss. I question him against the right-handed breaking ball. But I went into I saw Tennessee play. Gosh, where did I see them? this whole season's just coming together. But I saw him maybe week 8 or 9, and he answered all. Oh, I saw them at Alabama. He played phenomenal. His instincts are still not very good, especially running the bases. So I'm going to give him his only below average tool I saw was just base running instincts. But there's power. It's no longer sneaky. I think he has 20-some home runs. I'm going to go to the stat board here real quick. I think he has 24 home runs, 57 RBI. He's lowered his strikeout rate, which is huge for me, as you guys know, from 24% to 15%. While raising his ISO from 300 to 400. So not a lot of guys, again, can do that, and he's done it. So Christian Moore is a riser. I think, again, going in, he was a third-rounder-ish. He's a late first-rounder for me. One guy I honestly didn't care for too much, the same weekend I saw Hagen Smith in week 2 at Globe Life, was Carson Benj. I mean, I liked him as a sophomore. I saw him in the Cape. He was okay in the Cape. I think Fitty saw him in the Cape too. He was just okay, right? Really super good athlete. And after week 2, I left Global. I feel like I like this guy as a pitcher. He's up to 90-60. He's got a plus break, and it's a plus curveball. It's not a slider. It's a plus curveball. Loose arm, athletic. I mean, everything you're looking for on the mound, projectable. So I left there like, well, if the draft for tomorrow, I'd take Benj as a pitcher over a hitter because his swing was just off. They were beating him up inside. There's length. There's not like great bat speed. It's above average, but it's nothing like special. But he's really come on this year. So for me, he's went from like after Globe Life from more like a 3rd, 4th round type of guy. Right now, you're hearing his name in the end of the 1st round as well. So he's obviously risen. And then jump in here anytime. I'm not trying to cog this.
I'm going to jump in. Yeah, I'm going to jump in right now because you picked my pocket on Ben. She was on my list of risers. I agree. I mean, and this is another one that I was on a little more than you, I think, and maybe I just was kind of listened to Josh Holliday pitch this guy for the last couple of years, but like the performance didn't, staying healthy was a big part of it, but like he didn't really have the 1st round kind of performance. And like, you're right, you see him the wrong day and it's like, yeah, he's like a great looking athlete. There's, the body, there's projection, it's twitchy. There's a lot to like, but is the hit tool there? And, you look up and again, more walks and strikeouts with 1100 something OPS. Like he's performed and he's a, profile, I guess right fielder probably is where he would profile, but it's that arm really is an asset out there. I totally see. I was going to ask you if you've been hearing like maybe late 1st round type buzz because I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, I think that late 1st round is probably where he would say, hey, where's he going to go? That'd be a great bet for you. And then the final one is I'm going to butcher the last name, but it's Durangelo. I saw him. I forget what I saw. I saw him at Texas A&M. Saw the weeks run together, but I know I saw him at Texas A&M, and he was good before I saw him. It's not like I found him by any means, but like I saw firsthand, like maybe not the best version of him, but I saw one that was good enough to like, okay, what everybody else is saying is obviously accurate. I just saw him pretty good. It wasn't great, but and I think he's been a riser too. I think going in, it was more of a, hey, not really a freak show, lefty righty, but he's really concentrating on the right hand side more than the left hand side. And I think that's helped him rise in the eyes of the evaluators. And I think now he's probably an early 2nd round type of guy. Whereas again, I keep going back to the 3rd round, but that's probably what he was coming in 3rd, 4th-ish type of guy. But so Sinchti?
Saintcha. Yeah, Durangelo, like St. Jude, Saintcha.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Runes. I got it right here.
There you go.
All right. But I think he'd probably be the 5th riser that would come to mind.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And when I saw him, Seif, just the way his body is built and the way his arm works, just how it almost reminds me of like a Pedro type look. Now, he doesn't have a Pedro changeup, but like it's like that Pedro Martinez way it comes out. It's just easy 97 for a guy who's 5'11" or whatever, and it's like whoa. It's like the athleticism and the arm action to me just leap off the field from the right side, and it's the stuff is really ticked up from the right side compared to what it was, his first 2 years. I mean, he holds that mid 90s, it easy, and it's got life, and the slider's real. It's a even if he's just right-handed pitcher. I mean, and I still think he's good enough on the left side that you keep that in play. But I mean, if he's just a right-handed pitcher, that's a guy with a lot of ceiling. So he's exciting. I'm totally with you on that one as well.
Love it. Hey boys, let's before we wrap, let's jump to catchers.
Can-
Seif, you've got a piece. Oh, go
Can
ahead, Fitzy.
I'm sorry. I've got a few risers I want to throw out there.
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah,
just a couple
please.
more?
Yeah,
I'll go
by all means.
quickly. I saw Kyle DeBarge recently for Louisiana, and look, I get it. He's short, but this guy, I mean, Matt Degg said he's a stick of dynamite, and you know, I'm a sucker for guys who are a stick of dynamite. He's in that Sal Frelick tradition of just explosive short guys. He's hit for power this year. God, he's special to watch play shortstop. He makes everything look so easy. The arm is real. Deggs thinks he should be a first rounder. I'm coming around on that. I don't know where the industry has him right now, but like what I saw was, if you're looking for a shortstop, I mean, this guy can do it. He can play that position. And he can hit and he can run. He can really run. He's exciting. Love him. Think he's got some helium just based on my look. Brody Breck, I know you saw early Seif. You went back and saw him again. You had it in scouting trail this week. Seems like a guy that is kind of rebounded with his stock. Maybe had dropped some and has gone back up. So, I mean, it's not like a sleeper by any means. He was super famous heading in, but a guy that I think has trended back up as we get down the stretch. Aiden May getting healthy again for Oregon State. You and I, Seif, both saw him really good at Globe Life early. I think a healthy Aiden May who's performing can go pretty darn good and continue to climb. My guy, Sean Keys from Bucknell. Love this dude in the Cape. He tore up the Cape last year. All he did was go out and tear up the Ivy League. I mean, among the national leaders in OPS, had a great year. I just think he's a hitting machine who also has done it on the Cape. That combination, I think, is going to make him go higher than where we had him ranked at the midseason. I think he's going to go good. And then I've got Peyton Stovall, Arkansas, obviously super famous guy out of high school, famously turned down $2 million is the story. Bad first couple of years, then he had the injury this year. We had him at 100 at our midseason update. He's going to go, I would think, 3 to 5 round range. Isn't that, kind of what we're thinking? I think he's going to go a lot better than
we thought he was trending.
Yeah.
3 to 5. He's like a tech stock. Like he was way up coming into college, and then he sunk after, freshman, sophomore. Then he got hurt, obviously, and now he's way back up. So probably not the $2 million range, but certainly looking at a nice bank account.
He'll do okay for himself there.
Love it. Hey boys, let's do this as we wrap. Seif, you've got a piece coming out on catchers. I haven't read your piece yet, clearly, but I feel like what your piece is going to tell me is that the catching position in college baseball is very deep this year. I'll tell you the other reason I say that is I look at our recently released power rankings, and you guys know I'm a sucker for Arizona State players. I live out here, but like Ryan Campos is our number 14 catcher, which I think is a perfectly fair rank. And you look at his 3-year track record of hitting, and there is debate on whether he could stay at catcher, but the West Coast scouts out here, I can't find a scout that won't tell me he's a big leaguer. They all think he's going to hit so much that he's going to end up in the big league or in the big leagues. And he's played some outfield, and I think there's some utility there. But that's the 14th dude, and his area guys think that he's I think he's going to be a top 5 round pick. But anyway, here's what I want to do to wrap. Who is your favorite catcher in this class? I can't decide between Caleb Lomavita and Walker Yannick. Those are my 2 favorites. There is a clip that I shared with you guys on Twitter of Yannick throwing to second, and it's so intoxicating that I think I'm going to pick Yannick. I love the fact that Caleb Lomavita of Cal was a center fielder and a pitcher in high school. Like, that's how good of an athlete he was. He really didn't even catch that much. He played center, but Yannick is that same kind of guy, like where it's like somebody tricked him into catching, like he's too good of an athlete to be back there. So I would decide between the 2 of them. I would probably pick Yannick, but Seif, who's your favorite of the catchers?
Man, this is where not being a doctor and not knowing the medicals on these 3, and I'm not trying to dodge your question, but it's such a tough call. If all 3 medicals were 100% the same, I would go with Yannick in a heartbeat. But I'd probably lean towards Lomavita, and I don't have any of this great insider knowledge, but I was super impressed with Lomavita last year at the Pac-12 tournament, in the Cape this summer, and then also from what he's done and improved, this spring. So of the 3, I would lean Lomavita.
I'm going to give you and I'm not saying this guy is should be the first drafted or will be the first drafted or is the best of this class, but you asked for my favorite, a guy that I'm buying low on as far as a value guy. Caden Bodine hasn't had a great year at Coastal Carolina. He's famous, but kind of, last I checked, it was like a 830 OPS something. It was like kind of just okay. But I just believe in him. I think he's better than the numbers. I really like the defense. I think he's a big league catcher. And I think the bat will play more than, maybe more than people think. So that'd be the guy that, like, if I'm looking down the list a little bit, that I'm like, I'm buying low on this guy.
It does feel too like it's a perfect wrapper there, Fitzy, because it feels like Coastal, as Kendall likes to quote our good friend Marcus Peters, friend of the pod, if you will, we ain't done yet. I think we ain't done yet. I feel like Coastal, who has struggled down the stretch, I think they ain't done yet. So anyway, very fun, boys. Seif, always a pleasure to get you on a hot mic, and let's talk prospects and chop it up. Fitzy, well done. Enjoy Montgomery. Man, it's hard to believe that is, we are less than a week away. Oh gosh. Hey, the Fun Belt, that's a good tournament. Yeah, let's go. That's an adult tournament down there.
I thought I'd mix it up this year. The Pac-12, I think we got pretty much surrounded pretty well all year, and the Sun Belt will be a good time. There's a lot of Kyle DeBarge to go see. So
you're gonna enjoy it.
Nico Moss from Southern Miss roll in there too, and that Troy club that we just wrote about. Man, they're a fun group and a great head coach. So it'll be good time in Montgomery.
And they got talent. They got pro talent, and I'd be curious. I'm excited for you to see. Have you seen DeBarge yet this year?
I saw him in the Cape. I have not seen him yet this year. He's again, I've been wanting to go to the Sun Belt. I kind of, if I'm going to the conference tournament, I kind of save all those guys to see, the conference tournament. So it'll work out really well.
Good deal. Well, enjoy.
Yes. Enjoy. Love it. All right. Appreciate it, fellas. That's it, everybody. Have a great weekend. Less than a week till conference tournaments. Let's go. Enjoy, and we'll catch you next time on the D1 Baseball Podcast.